Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Selamat datang, selamat pagi Hi Movers di podcast TikTok, tempat di mana kita bisa berdiskusi, sharing, dan tentunya belajar terkait hal yang pastinya sangat menarik nih. Aku Owi yang akan jadi teman setia kalian di episode TikTok kali ini dalam segmen suplemen pengetahuan dengan topik Project Management, Sense Ownership yang harus dimiliki seorang Project Manager. Nah, Hi Movers, di TikTok ini kita nggak hanya akan sekedar ngobrol nih, tapi kita juga ingin mengajak nih kalian semuanya untuk ngikutin sebuah perjalanan yang penuh dengan inspirasi dan juga pengetahuan. Bersama-sama kita akan belajar mengenai ide dan gagasan tentunya untuk nambah wawasan yang penting untuk kita terapkan di kehidupan sehari-hari, khususnya mengabdi di BNI. Tentunya kita akan mengeksplorasi berbagai topik menarik yang memberikan edukasi bagi segenap BNI High Movers. Nah, by the way, kira-kira topik apa sih yang kita bahas siang hari ini? Pada episode kali ini kita akan mengulik lebih dalam nih terkait dengan project management yang mungkin High Movers sudah sangat familiar dengan istilah project management. But the biggest question is what the definition of project management is. Nah, project management, sense ownership yang harus dimiliki seorang project manager, kali inilah yang akan kita kulik-kulik lebih dalam. Di mana BNI University maksud Owi telah membentuk IT Digital Operation Academy dengan tujuan untuk mempersiapkan BNI High Movers sebagai digital talent dan membekali BNI High Movers dengan berbagai intervensi baik mindset, toolset maupun skill set. Salah satu intervensi untuk membentuk digital talent di BNI ini tentunya. BNI University telah menyelenggarakan beragam program pelatihan nih buat ningkatin capabilities segenap BNI High Movers, mulai dari digital mindset dan global mindset. Kemudian ada pula digital bootcamp yang mana kepanahnya telah mempelajari mengenai UI and UX. Kemudian ada pula data analytics dan visualization, business intelligence, project management, serta recently yaitu building capabilities for effective project management and business partnership dengan peserta business partner dan project manager sektor IT nih. Nah, pada podcast kali ini kita akan bahas topik mengenai project management, di mana setiap organisasi harus menemukan nih balance antara agile activity dan juga aktivitas rutin harian atau mungkin BAU, business as usual, terutama untuk bagi nih waktu secara efektif pada tiap-tiap aktivitas supaya nggak kolaps nih aktivitasnya nih ya. Mana yang masuk dalam kategori agile activity dan juga mana yang harus diselesaikan as a business as usual. Di mana seorang project manager membawa proyek perusahaan untuk mencapai tujuan yang tentunya ditentukan dan juga menambah nilai bisnis. Nah, secara keseluruhan nih, project manager bertanggung jawab atas keberhasilan sebuah project dengan mengkoordinasikan semua aspek project, mengelola sumber daya, membuat keputusan, dan tentunya memastikan kolaborasi yang efektif di antara anggota tim. Nah, kalau istilahnya project management itu keberhasilannya ada step-stepnya nih, mulai dari kalau kita kenal namanya ADDIE, analisa, design, development, implementation, dan juga evaluation. Di mana untuk bisa menyelesaikan sebuah project ini dibutuhkan role sebagai seorang project manager yang handal, di mana project manager ini dengan kepemimpinan dan juga pengawasan dari seorang project manager yang handal berkontribusi untuk mewujudkan proyek yang sukses, yang memenuhi tujuan dan memenuhi keinginan para stakeholder. Siang hari ini sudah bersama dengan narasumber spesial, ada 2 narasumber, di mana nanti di akhir sesi akan ada closing speech dari Pak Victor Korompis selaku SAVP Information Technology BNI nanti akan menyapa segenap High Movers pada saat sesi akhir. Alright, langsung saja nih Owi akan perkenalkan narasumber kita, guest kita pada TikTok episode kali ini, yaitu ada Mr. Hugo Messer as the CEO Ekipa Agile Consultancy dan juga Mas Ardiansa sebagai Agile Coach. Alright, langsung saja kita sapa mereka berdua. Halo Bapak atau Mr. Hugo.
Ya, selamat Siang.
Selamat
Sudah
siang.
siang.
Alright. So you can speak bahasa as well, right?
Lumayan.
Lumayan.
Sedikit malu ya.
Sedikit malu, but
Susah.
that's supposed to be fine because our audience are local people, so they can understand about that. Alright.
Okay.
Nah, kita yang kedua ada Mas Ardiansa. Gimana Mas kabarnya Mas?
Baik, selamat siang Mas Audi.
Selamat siang. Sapa dulu dong Hi Movers. Halo Hi Movers. Alright.
Selamat
Because we do live streaming right now. Alright. Kalau Pak Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi ini dalam satu entitas, betul ya?
Ya, betul.
Betul, dalam satu entitas yaitu
Dia
Ekipa
CEO,
Agile Consultancy.
saya bantu dia.
Alright. Oh.
Dia selalu merendah beliau.
Oh, selalu merendah ya. Low profile.
Low
Definition of low profile. Alright. Before we start it all over, I want to ask about probably a little bit more about Ekipa Agile Consultancy. Could you please describe what is Ekipa Agile Consultancy, Pak?
Yes, please.
Iya.
Your fault.
Oke. Ya, so Ekipa saya mulai 7 tahun lalu ya.
7
dengan
tahun lalu.
Ekipa.
Alright.
Sebelumnya ada software development di India. Jadi pakai Agile untuk kolaborasi di antara Belanda, Swedia dan India.
Oh, I see.
Jadi waktu saya pindah ke Bali, saya tinggal di Bali.
Alright.
Mulai Ekipa ya.
Oh,
Sebelumnya ada Scrum training.
Scrum training, yeah.
Yeah. Then I hire some coaches, so we do basically agile transformation.
Alright.
So we help with the training, with the coaching.
Right. Okay. I interested about something that you mentioned just now about the Scrum. So, what is the difference between Scrum and Agile?
So agile is
A part of
more of a, let's say that's the umbrella. Agile
I
is
see.
a mindset, the way of working. Scrum is one of the frameworks
I see.
which is most popular.
All right. So recently, Scrum is more popular compared than Agile.
More like Scrum is a subset of Agile.
Subset.
Agile as a movement comes from the Agile Manifesto, and the people who created the Scrum framework, they were part of the 17 people who made the Agile Manifesto.
All right. So the Scrum is more bigger, and then Agile is
Agile
more bigger, and then Scrum is more specific.
Yes.
Right. All right. Okay. Kalau by the way, I want to ask Mas Ardi nih. Kayaknya masih muda banget ya Mas Ardi ya. Mas, kalau boleh tahu Ekipa ini sudah berdiri berapa tahun nih Mas?
Around 7 tahun.
7 tahun ya.
Yeah,
Oke, 7 tahun.
2016
2016,
Yes.
right. So, originally where are you from?
dari Belanda.
Dari Belanda. Oke, Belanda.
Jadi besok saya pulang ya karena takut Independence Day.
Yeah, because we celebrate our Independence Day, so you have to move back to
Yeah.
your home country, right? Okay, just
Exactly.
kidding. All right. So, but by the way, about the Ekipa capability, about as a consultancy, I want to ask you about: have you ever managed any company, helped a company to improve about project management in some company in Indonesia?
Yeah, many because
Many?
so we have done work in most of the banks, all the, like in Mandiri and OCBC, in Danamon.
itself, right?
Yeah, so also at BNI we have done some work this year.
All right.
And project management is always a mix of the traditional project management like PMI and then the more agile way of working, right?
I
So in a way, Scrum is very different
Right.
from like traditional project management, but it all starts getting together now.
All right.
So we help many banks,
companies.
telcos. We've done a lot of work with telcom as well.
All right, that's good. Okay. By the way, before we start it all over, I want to revert to our topic for today. That since ownership must be owned by every single project manager. So could you please briefly highlight the general idea of the sense of ownership through a project manager should have?
So for me, ownership is something anybody needs to have in professional life.
Yeah.
So maybe also in life in general. But if you work for a big company, I think ownership is crucial. So the way I always see it is if, like, I'm a founder, I started several companies, and then the company becomes your baby.
Oh yeah.
Right? So every day and night I'm thinking, how can I make my baby grow? How can I make it succeed? How can I make the service better, the product better, my employees happy? So any problem that I see, I have to fix it, right? If my people don't fix the problem, it comes to me.
Okay.
Right? So the more anybody in a project or in a company have that sense of this is my baby, the more things will move forward in a good way.
Okay.
And also for individuals, it is more satisfying, because if you create your own product and you are proud of that, it gives satisfaction. If you just, so the opposite is you work in a big company like BNI, and you follow instructions.
Okay.
Right? So every day you come to work,
Right.
and I wait for you as my boss to tell me do A, B, C.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell me, I don't do anything. Right. So that's the opposite of ownership.
Right. Okay. Kalau dari Mas Ardi, ada tambahan dari yang disampaikan oleh Pak Hugo?
Yes, sebagai project manager paling penting kita mempunyai adalah sense of ownership ya, karena bagaimana kita disebutnya project manager,
Right.
kita yang menjalankan projectnya. Sometimes project manager itu punya punya mitos gitu. Mitos adalah project manager harus bisa melakukan semuanya.
Yes.
Padahal nggak harus. Dalam buku katakanlah PMBOK Project Management Body of Knowledge gitu ya, itu tidak di state bahwa seorang project manager harus mempunyai kapabilitas katakanlah risk management,
Right.
risk management gitu ya, terus mungkin di software development, coding dan sebagainya gitu ya. Nggak harus sebenarnya, tapi yang jadi masalah adalah mitos itu berkembang. Dan saya sebagai project manager harus mempunyai kapabilitas itu. Padahal kita hanya cukup mengetahui.
Right.
Misalnya dalam manajemen resiko, ya kita paling tidak tahu, dalam penghitungan manajemen risiko ini, project ini apa saja. Kita hanya cukup mengetahui. Dan ketika kita bicara dengan topik kali ini, ownership, artinya apa? Kalau Hugo tadi bilang adalah baby ini, kita make sure bahwa si project ini akan berjalan dengan baik. Ya apabila kita own the product, own the project.
Okay, it's kind of like ownership itu something like you have to take care about something like everything that you assignment that assigned to you harus ibarat kata kayak semacam diperlakukan kayak bayi gitu ya Mas ya.
Kayak bayi.
Harus dirawat
Kita
like a baby.
dirawat kan.
Okay.
Karena dalam project management kan ada 5 fase kan.
Betul.
Dari initiating sampai dengan closing.
Right.
Ada start dan end.
Betul,
Gitu kan.
betul.
That's why kita nurture itu pelan-pelan sampai dengan akhirnya deliver.
Okay.
Artinya sampai dengan ujung apa sih outcomes-nya nanti
Right.
yang didapatkan dari project tersebut. Seorang project manager tentunya harus mempunyai katakanlah semacam set of competencies.
Competency. But being a project manager is not that easy, right? But the most important thing, as you mentioned before, is about the ownership of being a project manager. So if you want to succeed about your project, you have to into it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to into it. It's not about knowing about detail of every single task, but the most important thing is how to manage your team, right?
Manage your team.
And how to prioritize in those tasks.
Right. It's kind of like definition of time management, right?
Yeah, so there's this important concept in the agile body of knowledge, which is the difference between output and outcome.
Output
You
and
mentioned it shortly. So output means I'm doing the tasks that were assigned to me.
Yeah.
Can be do this, do that.
Yeah.
Could also be my KPI. So if I focus on output, I focus only on my KPI.
Right.
Because if my KPI is good, my boss is happy.
Right.
But if I focus on outcomes, I start thinking, okay, I have a product, let's say the new BNI banking app or a module in that. I start thinking, how can this improve the life of the clients of BNI? Or how can I create a functionality that makes lending more favorable to people in Indonesia? And then I could start thinking, how can I prioritize things in my work or in my team so that we create that outcome, so we have the impact on the clients of BNI.
All right. So that's different between output and outcome. So output is the way how you just finish your KPI or your task that given to you from your boss. That's it.
Yes.
As long as your boss happy with your task KPI, so everything's I think just fine, right?
Yes.
But outcome is way more further rather than the output, right? It's kind of like how to favor your customer, how to give added value about your product to the customer. That's it.
It's the consequence of what you do.
All right. The impact. All right. So revert to the project manager. So project manager, as a project manager to finish some project. So which one about the aim? Have to finish output or have to more than output, which is outcome?
So I think for a project manager, outcome is crucial, because what usually happens in projects, they have many different bosses or stakeholders.
Yeah.
So everybody come to the project manager and say, "Oh, my feature or my demand is the most important. You have to do it tomorrow, right?" And then the project manager needs to balance between all the different requests, and usually the person with the highest title or the person who screams most will get priority. But a strong project manager, and in we can discuss later, in Agile we usually call it product owner. A strong project manager or product owner prioritizes based on what's best for the customer and for BNI as a whole, not for an individual. So he could say, if he have 50 requests to build something, he prioritizes those 50 requests on the impact of the things that people ask him to do.
Alright, so itu adalah definisi dari sebuah prioritas, Mas ya. Jadi harus revert to the outcomes dari prioritas dari skala-skala 50 project tadi itu. Tapi kalau misalnya nih menurut Mas Ardi nih ya, kan memang ada 50 task nih, misalnya let's say ada 50 task dalam sebuah project nih. Kemudian ada satu stakeholder yang bilang, selesaikan task yang ini dulu. Gimana Mas itu menurut Mas Ardi?
Di Agile sendiri sebenarnya bukan berarti kita harus kencang, berlari kencang. Sometimes kita harus coba untuk break rem gitu ya. Rem dalam artian apa? Kalau itu memang itu menjadi prioritas, dan apakah prioritas itu penting dan genting. Terus yang ketiga mungkin juga bisa pikir impactnya seperti apa, outcomes tadi.
Alright.
Di Agile sendiri, kalau kita mengerjakan semua task, means kita nggak ngerjain apa-apa.
Betul.
Karena memang nggak ada yang bisa dikerjakan, karena semua mau dikerjakan kan, nggak ada yang diprioritisasi. Itu yang Hugo tadi mention, bahwa ketika kita banyak task yang kita iyahkan, artinya kita nggak akan mengerjakan apa-apa. That's simple.
So it's kind of like skala priority. Itu sangat penting ya. It's kind of like theory of 7 habit of highly effective people by Stephen R. Covey, right?
Exactly. Well, that's a model you could use to prioritize.
Right. Alright, hold on. Untuk high movers tadi adalah sedikit kita menyampaikan highlight mengenai apa sih yang akan kita bahas hari ini. Nah, buat high movers yang telah bergabung pada podcast TikTok hari ini, selanjutnya kita akan dengarkan sharing session dari Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi. High movers bisa langsung sampaikan pertanyaan di kolom chat YouTube BNI University TV, dan nanti akan langsung dijawab oleh Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi. Langsung saja nih kita dengarkan pemaparan dari Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi. Silakan Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi.
Please. Apa?
Would you like to present your material?
You mean the main topic, yeah?
Right.
Yeah, so we already spoke about the main topic in the introduction, I think. And the most important things that we have in this list is the explanation of what it means to be feeling like an owner and taking accountability. Right? Accountability and ownership for me are somewhat the same. We will also speak about monkey management. So I will explain later on, but monkey management is a very interesting concept to understand. How do I deal with accountability? How do I make sure that, as we said before, as a project manager, I focus on the things that are most important and fix things that need to be fixed. So we will also speak about innovation as a topic, innovation in project management, innovation in the products that we're building, in the way we are working. And for me, everything that we speak about comes down to having an entrepreneurial mindset. So entrepreneurship, as I said, is about I'm an owner, I'm a founder of a company or of a product, and I see this as my baby, and I always try to improve and grow the baby. So if we speak about this ownership and taking accountability, I think for me it's about, if I am hired for a specific role in, for example, BNI as a project manager, then my job comes with roles and responsibilities, or accountabilities and responsibilities. So the important thing that I always tell people, especially my own team and also when we start helping companies, is that if as an employee of BNI or as a project manager of BNI, I keep my accountability restricted to the job description, then what will happen is, if everybody does that, anything that goes beyond this job description, I would say this is not mine, because my job description is ABCD. The problem with that is, if there is something outside that responsibility, something which is not described in my list and is not described anywhere, it will stay. Nobody will take it. So to me, if I, as a project manager, am accountable for the project or the product that I'm trying to build, then I will take end-to-end accountability as an owner. So I will not say this is not mine, because the work needs to be done, right? So I will take anything that needs to be done, I will take it and make sure that it gets done, either by asking somebody to do it or fixing it myself. Maybe you want to add something in bahasa, ya?
Yes, thank you Hugo. Ownership accountability memang sudah harus menjadi suatu capability yang dipunyai oleh seorang project manager gitu. Karena dengan adanya ownership tersebut, kita tahu apa yang mau kita deliver di project tersebut. Karena dengan kita tidak mempunyai, katakanlah ownership itu berkurang, artinya kita akan mulai meninggalkan gitu ya, mulai kurang peduli dengan apa yang kita develop tersebut. Karena tadi yang kita discuss gitu terkait dengan project manager gitu ya, di mana tadi Mas Owi bilang kita seperti membesarkan seorang bayi gitu ya, sampai dengan dia dewasa, dan itulah di mana kita harus end to end dalam kita mengerjakan atau menyelesaikan project tersebut. That's all from me.
Okay.
Yeah. So this monkey management is a concept which came from a book called The 1 Minute Manager. So it's a series, The 1 Minute Manager. They have many topics, but one of them is the 1 Minute Manager meets the monkey, and he describes monkey management. Now, what monkeys represent is basically, so, jadi monyet ya, ada monyet di sini. So monyet means I am recognizing that there is a problem and there is an action to solve that problem. Now, the monkey represents that action. And what we oftentimes see is that monkeys jump around. Mm-hmm. Now, what oftentimes happens is, if I, for example, am a project manager and one of my team members has a monkey. So the monkey could be, okay, I need some information from the director, which is important for our project. What I will do is I go to my project manager and then I will tell them, look, I need this information. Now, the moment as a project manager, you say, okay, I will help you get that information, the monkey jumps from my shoulder to the project manager's shoulder, right? So I have accepted your monkey. That means I have to go to that stakeholder or director to get the information. And next thing which happens is we have reverse roles, because the person in the team will come to the project manager later on and remind the project manager about the information that he needs from the stakeholder to finish his project. And he will come to me asking, but did you already get that information from the stakeholder? So what actually happened is our roles were reversed. Okay. So instead of the project manager being the facilitator for the team to manage the monkeys, I took the monkey and I'm basically reporting to my people, to my team, to fix this monkey, to follow it up. So the thing with monkey management is, as a team and as a project manager, if we are aware that we have monkeys, we can make sure that this monkey stays here on the shoulder where it belongs, right? Mm-hmm. And this comes back to what I said before. Ownership means if I recognize that there is a problem, right? I see the problem. Then I am responsible for making sure that the monkey related to the problem is on somebody's shoulder, either mine or somebody else. But it's not okay if I recognize a problem and I leave it. Right?
All right.
I walk away.
That's quite interesting. Boleh dibantu Mas Ijaznya ke High Movers mengenai konsep dari monkey management mengenai step yang pertama tadi. Monkey should be feed or shot.
Monkey should be feed or shot. Di sini sih sebenarnya kalau dalam monkey management yang pasti adalah membantu kita tahu gitu ya, siapa sih yang menjadi katakanlah yang punya accountability di situ.
Yep.
Sehingga kalau tadi kita bicara ownership dalam psikologi gitu ya, kita tahu itu adalah kepemilikannya kita itu benar-benar mau melakukan katakanlah totalitas. Tapi ketika itu kita melakukan itu setengah-setengah, kelihatan. Sedemikian monkey-nya itu pasti lepas.
Okay, from
the shoulder.
Alright.
Ya ketika ada isu dan sebagainya, biarin deh, nanti monkey-nya dia ngambil kok.
Okay.
Ketika ada satu di benak kita terbesit seperti itu dan kita membiarkan sekali aja, dan itu akan menjadi pembiaran yang terus menerus.
Okay.
Sehingga apa? Ya, jadi mungkin project delay, mungkin ketika ada isu ya isu itu dibiarkan, akhirnya jadi kebakaran. Means kalau kebakaran kita harus pademin dulu kebakarannya, kita harus recovery dulu gitu ya.
Right.
Dan sebagai akhirnya lebih banyak lagi ya masalah yang timbul setelah kebakaran tersebut.
Okay. So that's the importance of having ownership, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Relate antara ownership dengan monkey management tetap.
Back to your slide.
Yeah. So maybe one more thing about monkey management which comes to my mind, right? So what monkeys usually also tend to do is they keep going up, right? So if I am the leader of a business unit and I have multiple product and project manager, if my people are serious about ownership and keep those monkeys, then they will not jump up to me as the director of this unit. And this is at the core of agility, where we want to stimulate and we want to empower our people. So we want to make sure that the monkeys stay on a low level. People that see the monkey in a lower position, they are empowered to make the decision to take the monkey, so they don't jump up, and that creates efficiencies because it makes the life of a leader better. He can focus on real leadership, on having vision about creating strategies and not solving small details. And it also improves the life of anybody in the team because they get more responsibility. And through responsibility and fixing problems, we grow. Right?
Yeah.
That's
Boleh dibantu dijemain, Mas?
Oke. Monkey management, balik lagi tadi bicara Hugo bilang adalah tentang agility. Dimana ketika memang itu ada masalah, kita coba untuk recover itu secepat mungkin. Dan yang pasti dalam agile sendiri, gitu ya, agile sendiri adalah kita memberikan keseimbangan. Karena namanya korporasi kan sebenarnya banyak sekali yang mau dicapai.
Betul.
Semacam target tahunan.
Betul.
Ketika ada agile masuk, itu adalah untuk menyeimbangkan antara kepentingan dari korporasi maupun juga kepentingan dari human. Bring the balance dari kedua hal tersebut, sehingga yang terjadi adalah kita bisa mencapai high performance.
Okay. Tapi kalau misalnya tadi, as you mentioned before that, it is not allowed for the monkey to jump to the director because there's a layer of a project manager, right? So the thing is, it happens a lot of times in some company, probably, that's if there's a report update, something like that, the project manager asks to their team to join and then straight present. On the other hand, the project manager just sit down and have a look and just give something like correction. Is that true, or how to take this case?
You mean that there's, for example, a delay in a project, and who is responsible for that, right? Well, again, if all the people, I think it's about having mature conversations about this as a team as well. So if we see that there is a delay, and for example, the team did not mention this and they did not come with any solution, they mentioned it at the end of the project when the deadline is there without having indicated it earlier. So then we need to do a retrospective and have mature conversations about how can we avoid this in the future, so that people will indicate, okay, right now we have a problem which may cause delay, so we will not be able to deliver the project in time. But next time, talk about this much earlier without being afraid that the project manager will become angry or will look bad on them. So I think we also, like, one of the concepts in agility is also openness, and that relates to this. So we need to make sure that people feel safe. People feel that they can open up about problems, delays, or monkeys they recognize but don't know how to solve, right? So it's about having these open conversations about anything that's happening. And if as a team we do that, then problems get solved. As a team we get better at, team performance over time.
Okay. Ada tambahan, Mas?
Yes, interesting. Kalau kita tadi kalau bicara project delay, sometimes kita menjadi project manager sudah langsung menjadi beban.
Iya,
Oke,
betul.
itu beban saya. Padahal tidak selalu harus itu menjadi beban saya, gitu, atau itu menjadi salah saya. Paling penting adalah keterbukaan. Yang tadi Hugo sampaikan, kita retrospektif, kita terbuka bahwa apa sih yang menyebabkan project ini delay.
Right.
Padahal bukan gara-gara project manajernya, karena memang ada suatu lain hal, entah itu internal faktor atau external faktor yang dimana itu harusnya kita bisa manage.
Oke. But sometimes project delay itu kayak dilimpahin ke tim gitu loh Mas. Sometimes itu kan nggak nice banget ya harusnya ya Mas ya.
Harusnya nggak nice.
So the only person that responsible for the delay is the project manager, right? Supposed to be project manager, right? Because he is he manage their team,
Yes.
so he's supposed to take any responsibility about something like delay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dan simpel lagi nih. Oke, project itu delay. Kenapa?
Okay.
Ada alasannya. Tidak serta-merta, itu salah project manager. Kenapanya? Apakah memang kesalahan dari internal, terutama dari project manajernya, atau mungkin dari internal timnya, atau memang eksternal faktor, di mana tiba-tiba requirement-nya berubah. Nah itu yang kita harus manage dengan baik sebagai project manager.
Jadi siapa yang harus bertanggung jawab untuk mengupdate ke director?
Tetap si project manager.
Harus project manager.
Harus project manager.
Because kita menemui banyak sekali di industri gitu kan Mas ya. I mean kayak project manager tidak mau disalahkan, which is kan timnya yang di
blame.
Iya di blame gitu kan dikatakan. Dan itu kan kayak nggak nice banget ya Mas ya.
Nggak nice. Secara main gitu ya, cara mainnya juga nggak sophisticated gitu ya.
Iya betul.
Project manager. Tetap accountability dari project manager. Kita tahu itu delay, apa alasannya?
So that's the way capability of project manager measure, right?
Yes, dan sebagai project manager kita punya tanggung jawab akan membuat keterbukaan di tim.
Iya.
Yang tadi gue sampaikan tentang keterbukaan. Bagaimana? Oke, salahnya ini. Lalu untuk kedepannya kita harus melakukan apa yang lebih baik. What could be improved?
Alright.
Kita tahu ada salahnya apa yang bisa kita improve setelahnya.
Very interesting. Because it happens a lot. It happens a lot. Okay, back to your slide.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next topic we meant to discuss is about innovation. And
right.
for me, this is essentially the next step after monkey management. Now, what monkey management is about is recognizing problems in a project or in the work that you're doing, and making sure that those monkeys are somebody's responsibility to solve. But innovation goes basically to the next level, because what innovation is about is I have a product or a feature that I'm building, if it's an IT project, and I start looking at what are other companies doing, what are banks, for example, in other countries doing, what are the trends in, let's say, cryptocurrency or anything that's happening in the financial landscape globally. And how can I get some ideas from that and implement it in the product that I am building, right? But innovation is also about, as a team, how do we become better at what we're doing? So how can we innovate the way we work? How can I, as an individual, innovate the way I am going about my work? So, for example, using the 7 habits and prioritizing my own work. So for me, innovation is a mindset, right? Oftentimes we think innovation is what Gojek or what the startups are doing. And in a way, yes, that's true. That's a sort of big bang innovation. They see a big opportunity, they build a company around this and they become successful. But innovation has different levels. It's also about my day-to-day work, the teamwork, the BAU stuff that we're doing in the bank. So you have different levels. And I think it's important that innovation becomes a central mindset in any organization, in any agile team, because things move so fast outside. Now we have the AI movement. So questions like, how can AI apply to the new banking app that we're building in BNI? What kind of can I use it in the app to service customers, or can I use it as a programmer, for example, to build certain features? There's ways to bring innovation into the day-to-day work, but also into the products that we're building.
Oke, boleh dibantu Mas?
Oke. Inovasi tadi yang Hugo sampaikan adalah it's all about the mindset.
Right.
Mindset yang harus dipunyai terutama dalam setiap korporasi gitu ya. Kalau tidak ada mindset inovasi, sudah pasti gitu ya, tidak ada breakthrough di dalamnya.
Betul.
Nah, kita ambil contoh adalah antara Apple dengan Samsung misalkan gitu ya. Dalam peta persaingan, apakah Apple yang dulunya katakanlah inovator sekarang menjadi tetap di terdepan dalam inovasi? Enggak. Dan itu yang saya bawakan di training kemarin. Apakah Apple sekarang menjadi inovator, pionir? Tidak,
Yes.
tapi menjadi follower.
Right.
Follower akan apa? Suatu hal yang disempurnakan, sudah ada dan itu disempurnakan. Di mana kita bicara lebih intuitif. Saya ambil contoh, kenapa antara Apple dengan Samsung gitu ya? Samsung bukan berarti jelek, dia adalah pionir. Pionir
Right.
dalam apa? Foldingnya, flipnya dan sebagainya. Tetap ada unique selling proposition-nya. Tapi
Okay.
Apple cukup simple, di mana mereka mengembangkan suatu ekosistem, dan ekosistemnya ya sebenarnya dalam produknya ya kalau kita bicara iPhone itu aja.
Iya,
Iya kan, cuma layar
agree.
besar, paling
Betul,
cuma
betul.
nambah kamera 3 gitu ya, di mana lebih ke usability-nya, needs-nya dari
Customer
itu sendiri.
Alright.
Inovasi bukan berkaitan dengan ada hal yang baru. Inovasi itu bisa dibilang adalah suatu hal yang dibutuhkan oleh customer.
Alright.
Kita istilahnya adalah customer centric.
Customer centric, right? So
Customer
the
centric.
innovation is talking about customer centric, right? Based on the customer needs.
It can be. Yeah,
It can be,
That's a source. One of the main sources of finding things worth fixing.
Yeah.
Means innovation. So I can talk to customers. I can gather data from the usage of our banking app, and based on that, as a team, we can try to come up with new things that can solve the problems that we see.
All right. So the ideas of innovation is not only about as a innovator or as a pioneer, right? But the thing is being having concept of innovation is about see and then duplicate and modify.
Yeah,
Isn't it right?
yeah. That's one path. Yeah.
That's one path of having innovation
Yeah.
mindset, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I talk more like the typical idea that we have of innovation, and I see that a lot in Indonesia, especially in the big companies, is like innovation means we run a startup competition, right? We run an accelerator, so we ask internal employees or people from outside to submit ideas.
Right.
And then those ideas we can work with. We could either use it as a gimmick for employees, so they submit the ideas, they win, and they feel good.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Or we can do we attract external startups, and then potentially we can collaborate with them, or we
Right.
can invest in them. Now that's a very clear way of trying to bring innovation, but this is only one way to do this, right? Eventually you want people to, again, it goes to the next topic also, but to become like owners or entrepreneurs who take ideas and start executing it. And it doesn't necessarily mean I submit an idea in a competition, but it could also mean that I take a part of that
Right.
idea and bring it to my job, make it happen, right?
Right.
Make it reality. So
Oke, jadi kayak semacam menjadi sukses atau apa itu tidak harus menjadi seorang yang pertama ya Mas.
Pertama.
Ya? Alright. So it's kind of like itu kayak kejadian juga sih di beberapa industri banking juga gitu kan. Ada beberapa semacam mobile banking dan sebagainya. Itu kan memang hampir semua bank itu punya mobile banking ya Mas
Betul.
ya. BNI, Mandiri, BRI semua punya mobile banking. Cuma kan kondisinya bukan berarti yang pertama mengeluarkan mobile banking ini yang sukses.
Belum tentu.
Betul ya, tapi yang bagaimana yang bisa memodify,
lebih tepatnya adalah memberikan impact
kepada customer
Kepada
melalui
customer.
inovasinya tadi. Alright, that's quite interesting. So talking about innovation is not being about the first time that you launch it, but the thing is how to agile with that idea, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ya, like Hugo mention tadi kan bahwa absorb the idea, sum
Right.
up the ideas, nggak selalu semua ide kita absorb lalu kita implementasi, tapi adalah dari sama ide itu apa yang bagus lalu kita implementasi.
Yes, totally agree with that. Okay, next to your slide.
yeah, and then the part which is related to innovation and also ownership is entrepreneurship. So when we talk about innovation, we typically think about Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos starting Amazon. And of course, those are the role models of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. But there is a lot of ways to look at entrepreneurship for people that work in a bigger company. And, for me, entrepreneurship basically comprises all of what we've discussed before. So an entrepreneurial mindset means that I am always looking at what can I fix, what can I, what, like as I said in the beginning of our conversation, when I am a founder and I create my own baby, day and night I'm concerned with how can I make that baby grow? How can I make it survive? How can I make it healthy, right? If you have kids, if you have babies, you know that's the primary focus you have. And the same for somebody who starts his own company. And that entrepreneurial mindset makes for resilience, right? It makes for people always looking at what can be improved, right? Which comes back to innovation.
Innovation, right?
Another thing, like another sentence that I like is from Richard Branson. He wrote this book called "Screw It, Let's Do It." Right? What often happens? Screw it. Let's do it.
Quite interesting.
Right. So this means that in a big company, especially banks, we're afraid of things, right? We want to we don't like risk, right? Banking is about the opposite of risk.
Agree.
Right. Now, Richard Branson in his book, for example, he describes he's an adventurer, right? So he flew in a balloon across the world in some sort of stream which goes around the globe, right? These are crazy things, but he also used that in his entrepreneurial journey. So he's always looking for, like Elon Musk, challenging things that challenge existing industries, and then have the mindset that let's not overthink, let's not look at the risk only, but let's just do it, right? So screw it, let's do it. And I think that mindset can be applied to anything you do, because there is many reasons to not do something.
Yeah.
And there's very few reasons to do it. So this mindset helps you to break through that constraint of, no, I cannot do this because my boss says this, or no, we cannot do this because OJK will not allow us, right? If you look at banking, for example, Jago and Genius, they had this mindset, right? They when they launched their products, the OJK was not informed. They just did it, and then they looked at the boundaries of what was possible. At a certain point, OJK came and said, look, guys, this is not okay. And then they adjusted, right? So then they started looking at the regulations. But initially they thought, let's just do it.
Do it, right?
And I think that mindset, and also like breaking rules within the boundaries of the law, right? Challenging some things, kicking some tires. That's what we need if we bring this entrepreneurial, innovative mindset to anything that we're doing.
Mas Adli.
Yes. Entrepreneurial mindset wajib katakanlah dipunyai seorang project manager. Karena kan bicaranya kalau kita project manager adalah triple constraint project management. Scope, resources, time, right? Scope itu yang mendasari nanti berapa resource yang dibutuhkan. Artinya bisa budget, bisa SDM.
Betul.
Adapun juga waktu, gitu. Berapa lama? Kalau tidak mempunyai entrepreneur mindset, gitu ya, katakanlah berapa budget yang dibutuhkan dan sebagainya, gitu ya. Nah, itu nanti khawatirnya adalah ya udah pakai aja dulu cost-nya gitu berapa dan sebagainya gitu. Memang ada perhitungannya sih. Setiap itu kan memang ada perhitungan, akan tetapi kalau kita tidak men-challenge diri kita sendiri maupun kita men-challenge tim gitu ya. Ini yakin nih memang seperti ini.
Iya.
Dibandingkan pertama saya biarin aja. Kan sudah ada budgetnya.
Betul.
Akan berbeda. Kan mungkin bisa aja cost-nya nanti 500 juta. Tapi begitu kita coba challenge dan akhirnya bisa reduce mungkin katakanlah 400 juta. Dan itu bagian dari entrepreneurial mindset. Kita mencoba mencari mana yang cost yang paling optimal, cost yang efektif maupun katakanlah efisien. Sehingga apa? Tetap capai outcome-nya, tapi dengan cost yang lebih efisien. Dan itu memang yang dibutuhkan katakan di setiap project ataupun katakanlah company lah yang lebih besar.
Oke. So, jadi ada 4 tadi ya, mulai dari ownership, take accountability, kemudian ada monkey management, kemudian juga sudah dibahas mengenai innovation, dan tadi ada juga entrepreneur. Talking about entrepreneur is kind of like revert to something like the open new business by their own business. But the thing is, entrepreneur is about mindset, right?
I believe so. Yes.
You believe so, right?
Yes.
So entrepreneur is about the mindset that reverts to a set of belief, and then through a process and way of viewing the world that drive entrepreneurial behavior. That's it, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. Interesting. Next to your slide. So that's all your slide?
That's all.
All right. Okay. Revert to your presentation. I have some question that probably revert to the very first you present about the ownership and accountability, right? Right? So could you please describe a little bit more further about these two attitude. Probably our high movers wants to know further about ownership and accountability.
Maybe you can add in Bahasa some
Yeah,
extra
right.
things.
Yeah, you can start.
In Bahasa.
Probably if you,
Bahasa,
you,
why
you
not?
want to add.
So yeah, I think we discussed about this already quite a bit. I think what to sort of to summarize that topic, I think what's an important message, especially for high movers, young talented people. Many people want to go work for a big startup, right? Especially the last 5 years with Gojek and Tokopedia and Traveloka becoming very big. Everybody wants to work there, right?
Mhm.
And this is an environment where you can showcase, you're close to the founders, you're in an entrepreneurial environment, which is sometimes a bit of the opposite of a state-owned bank, for example. But you can also see that there's disadvantages in working in such environment, because right now there is less investment and some of the startups are having quite some challenges. So it has a flip side. So it has, like, people who work in a state-owned bank, for example, like BNI. I think there's a place for that, and I think if as a bank you create an environment in which talent that has this drive, right, that has this ownership mindset, that has aspirations to become a founder or an entrepreneur, if you're able to create an environment where those people can flourish and grow and work on innovative products, and they get space to bring in their own ideas into what they are doing,
Okay.
then you can keep those people. And in the end of the day, the success of modern organizations depends on people, right? Because everything we do is about brain work. It's
Yeah.
less about working in a factory making small things and using our hands, but we use our brain. So the better we're able to keep the
Right.
talent that would otherwise go to some big company, the higher the likelihood that we stay ahead of the competition, right? So that we
Yeah.
come with we create the next Genius or
Genius,
Jago, instead of having to play catch up, right? Because catch up means somebody else did it before us, and now we're trying to copy what they did. And that's a minimum to stay alive.
Yeah.
But if we want to be the one creating something like that, then we need that talent. It's not, nowadays, it's not the director who's been in the company for 30 years that will come up with this idea for what's next, right?
Okay.
What I said, AI, crypto, that stuff is all the young generation. So you want to create the environment to keep those people. And I think for the high movers, the potential people that have aspirations to create something, they also need to start acting out this aspiration within a bigger company, right? So it's about taking the ownership for coming with ideas, for changing things, for breaking some rules, for challenging the directors who've been around for a long time and may have different ideas, to start challenging all of that, so that I can create space for myself, but so I can also bring the innovation and the change to the company.
All right. So having this kind of like ownership, or having sense of ownership and accountability is a gift, or given, or created, or forced, in your perspective.
I mean, for me personally, when I was 11, I thought, okay, I had an uncle and he had his own business and he had a big factory. He was driving a Porsche, and I thought, that's what I want.
All right.
I don't have one, and I don't want any. But you need that trigger. So I always felt like I want to create my own
All right.
company. My plan was I will never ever work for a boss.
Agree.
I think I'm an outlier. There's not that many people that have it, but some will have something like that, right? They feel like, oh, one day I would like to go out and do it myself. But
Yeah.
I think nowadays a lot has changed, because big companies create those opportunities as well. So to be honest, now that I'm older, I would still start my own company, but at the same time, I think some companies, some environments create opportunities to play that role, to be the founder
Alright.
within the company. Right?
Alright. Oke, hold on second. Hi Movers dan juga guest speaker kita telah kedatangan SAVP Information Technology BNI, yaitu Pak Victor Korompis, yang hadir untuk menyapa Hi Movers. Boleh kita tahan sebentar, kita pengen cica dengan Pak Victor. Alright, halo Pak Victor. Halo Pak Victor. Alright.
Selamat pagi,
Baik.
salam buat mover dan teman-teman semua.
Alright, boleh Pak Victor silakan disapa dan juga berikan mungkin arahan untuk High Movers pada sesi kita hari ini, Pak. Silakan, Pak.
Oke, terima kasih buat Pak Hugo juga Pak Ardi yang sudah join dan ngasih banyak banget feedback positif dan juga pengajaran ya mengenai agile dan mengenai sense ownership juga istilahnya begitu ya. Salah satu hal yang mungkin saya hendak menyapa high mover, ini banyak harapan dan banyak perkembangan BNI. Kita sudah implement yang namanya NWOW, New Way of Working Organization, dan tuntutannya dari NWOW tersebut adalah kita semakin agile. Nah tadi saya mungkin nggak ngulang yang sudah diajarkan oleh Hugo, tapi mungkin yang saya hendak tekankan di sini, kita sangat berharap high mover ini menjadi agen perubahan change management untuk BNI. Ya, salah satu sikap tadi yang disebutkan juga mengenai entrepreneurship atau mungkin kalau dalam BNI kita bilang namanya intrapreneurship. Jadi bagaimana teman-teman running bisnis BNI sebagaimana itu as if bisnis yang dijalankan sendiri. Dan yang kedua yang juga saya harapkan tadi adalah dalam setiap tindakan kita, dalam setiap bisnis yang kita jalanin, dan kita dimanapun, bisa aja kita di bisnis, di IT, di operation gitu ya, diperlukan ownership dan juga akuntabilitas.
Right.
Ya, ini akan membedakan apabila kita mau menjadi leader yang baik, mempunyai ownership yang sangat tinggi, dan juga leader yang baik juga menunjukkan kepemimpinan dan rasa memiliki terhadap apa yang sedang dikerjakan. Jadi thank you nih Mas Owi dan teman-teman yang hadir di studio atas kesempatannya. Saya sangat senang sekali sempat join TikTok ini. Tapi saya juga punya harapan yang cukup besar pada teman-teman high mover ya agar mendukung perubahan NWOW yang sedang berjalan. Dan saya yakin gitu ya bahwa BNI akan menjadi organisasi yang sangat agile, lincah, dan bisa menjadi kebanggaan Indonesia dan kehadirannya di dunia internasional juga. Thank you Mas Owi, saya kembali ke Mas Owi.
Alright, keren banget. Thank you very much Pak Victor Korompis selaku SVP Information Technology BNI sudah menyapa dan juga jadi memberikan sedikit arahan ya Pak ya, dan juga insight bahwasanya di tengah kondisi NWOW saat ini, New Way of Working yang saat ini lagi diimplementasikan di BNI Wide, kita harus punya mindset, salah satunya adalah entrepreneurship. Kemudian as a leader we also have to sense of ownership and accountability as well ya Pak Victor ya. Thank you banget Pak Victor. Silakan kalau Bapak melanjutkan aktivitas kembali Pak Victor, ya silakan Bapak. Thank you Bapak. Okay, move on the truth. Okay, about the sense of entrepreneur. Yeah, we talk about the sense of entrepreneur because it's kind of like lack in high movers, probably for myself as well actually. So do you have any tips how to build as an entrepreneur mindset?
I mean, looking at a company like BNI, I think what's important is that the company as a whole fosters this, stimulates people in innovation, entrepreneurship, like company-wide. So we need basically like programs, training,
Right.
For example, innovation competitions, which I spoke about earlier. We also need to create opportunities for young movers, maybe just to communicate and collaborate with startups. So that we need to create an environment in which people are exposed to this, right? And for me, the role model for Indonesia right now is Telkom. They started
Telkom, right?
Yeah, so they started on this journey 4 or 5 years ago, and they started several things at the same time. So they started with an internal program which is called Amoeba, and this gives young movers the opportunity to submit ideas internally for products or services they could launch, and they have a support program for that talent to work on it. So when they submit the idea, there will be stages in which they can be released from their BAU in order to work on this new idea. And there will be some little funding, there will be some support like mentoring, everything they need in order to work on that idea. So that's one program they started.
Okay.
Then they also have a more top-down innovation program in their digital unit. So they decided certain directions in which they want to create new products and services. But they also have Indigo, which is the collaboration with external startups, and they do some small initial funding. So it's like the accelerator program. And they also have their VC MDI, which invest in startups. So they have like 4 different things going at the same time. And I think this created an environment that inspires employees to become different in the way they see the work that they do at Telcom. Right? So that's, I think, from a company perspective, that's important. But for the talented people, it's of course also important to look outside. So they can do all of what I've just said. You can wait for the company to provide you with that, but you can also go outside, right? I could I don't know if this is a good idea, but I could ask my boss, can I go to some conference or startup event in Singapore or maybe in Silicon Valley so that I can get inspired to do some of the innovation in the project that I'm working on. So there's many ways to expose yourself and learn from what's happening outside.
Yeah, that's agree. Because most of employee or high movers, they depend on what company can give to them rather than they can explore by themselves, right?
That's a great thing. Yes, exactly. Yes.
But this is we also have to notice that the role of its company take responsibility as well to give something like a sense of entrepreneurship to their employee, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's I think it's an interaction, but I do think like if I really take ownership and entrepreneurship serious, then my attitude as an employee will indeed be I'm responsible for my own life.
Yes.
So whatever I do in this company, I'm going to show that I can do this, and I'm going to ask for things that I need, but I'm also going to give back. Right?
Yeah, sure. Alright. Oke, Hugo dan juga Mas Ari, kita sudah banyak banget nih pertanyaan, question dari YouTube. Langsung saja kita akan jawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan dari High Movers yang sudah ada di YouTube. Boleh tampilkan? The question from Mr. Dodi Kurniawan. Alright. Dear bro and panelists, permission to ask how to overcome conflict or disagreements within the team that might hinder a sense of ownership and effective collaboration. Mr. Hugo.
Yeah. So I think that, let me answer this from the Agile way of working. So what we have in Agile is, if we use the Scrum framework, we have a Scrum Master.
Yep.
Now the role of a Scrum Master is exactly this. The Scrum Master fosters collaboration. So he would go and identify 2 people have a conflict. How, as a coach or as a facilitator, as a Scrum Master, can I bring those people together to have mature, open conversations so they can resolve this conflict, right? So I think it's important that if we work in a high-performing team, we have somebody that plays a role of facilitator, like a mother, right? If you grow up if you have some siblings and a father, then the mom is always taking care. She's always concerned about emotions and conflict. So the mom takes care of the family. I think we need somebody to do that also in a professional team, so that conflicts that people cannot resolve themselves can be resolved, right? And the only way, in my opinion, to resolve conflict or disagreement or whatever is to have open conversations.
Open conversation.
Yeah, so, and this comes back to mindset. So if I don't like, let's say, what Adi does, if I do not tell Adi that I have some issues with his behavior, then we will get a conflict. But if I give Adi the opportunity to correct the behavior or to do something with that, which means I tell him that I have something which bothers me, then Adi can think, oh, I don't care, right? That's one option. The other one is he could think, oh, that makes sense, and I'm gonna work on that, right? But if he thinks I don't care, then maybe it becomes a conflict. So I have to repeat it, or we have to ask somebody to help us to have that conversation. But the only way to solve it is to have
Open conversation.
open conversations.
So more specific, Hugo, about having open conversation. So what's the most important thing that must be discussed on that open conversation? Because sometimes when we do open conversation, so the topic is quite wide, right? So what's the more specific while in open conversation?
I think it's about getting to the point, right? It's
Mhm.
about, so what I always have in mind if I have conversations with somebody in a mature way is, you're a person, right? You
Mhm.
have a certain character, whatever, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you as a person. There could be certain behavior that I don't like, or
Okay.
that I don't fancy because you do that differently from what I expect.
Mhm.
As long as I keep that distinction, I can respect you, I can be very friendly to you and point you to the behavior that causes me trouble, right? And then we can talk about that behavior. So I don't
Okay.
need to tell you your whatever,
Yeah.
whatever name I use,
Yeah.
but I talk about the behavior. And
Okay.
I think as long as we do that, whatever the issue is in between us, we can resolve anything.
Okay. So professionalism over personal conflict.
Yeah, maybe it's like a detached way to give feedback to somebody without bringing all kind of drama and emotion.
Drama queen, right? Do you have any thought?
Yes, oke. Kalau mengenai pertanyaan yang tadi, yang pasti keterbukaan itu sangat penting ya, karena balik lagi dalam negara kita aja, demokrasi kita aja gitu ya, kan nggak selalu semuanya agreement.
Betul.
Nggak ada kata, oh saya agree, semuanya agree.
Satu
Nggak.
suara langsung
Satu
gitu ya,
suara
Mas, ya.
langsung gitu kita paketin, nggak bisa kan? Pasti kan ada juga pemilu aja kan ada milih
Betul.
calon 1, 2, 3 dan seterusnya. Jadi disagreement itu tetap di manage.
Mm-mm.
Apa disagreementnya? Di mana? Lalu setelah disagreement itu memang ada, tidak harus itu menjadi main issue.
Betul.
Kadang kan forum itu mempunyai suatu preferensi. Mau bahas yang mana dulu? Ketika ada konflik mau bahas yang mana dulu? Yuk kita selesaikan, kita duduk bareng. Mungkin bisa pakai menggunakan pendekatan atau tools gitu ya, seperti root cause analysis gitu ya.
Oke.
Kita cari akar masalahnya di mana. Yuk kita selesaikan sama-sama.
Alright.
Jadi bukan salah dengan langsung judgement, salahnya di situ, begini gitu, sehingga adanya konflik. Tadi yang Hugo bilang drama. Kalau udah ada drama, satu berarti artinya baper.
Ya.
Kebawa perasaan. Ketika bawa perasaan udah masuk ke ego.
It takes personal, right?
It takes personal gitu dan sebagainya. Saya nggak suka sama orang ini dan sebagainya. Padahal kita juga katakanlah ada di depan gitu ya, katakanlah
Betul.
sebagai project manager bukan berarti harus disukain.
Betul.
Harus ada sesuatu kita sadar bahwa banyak uncontrol factor yang kita
Betul.
nggak bisa kontrol ya sampai sekarang.
Oke. Agree. Oke, pertanyaan yang kedua, second question from James. Let's have a look on the screen. Hi, Mr. Hugo and Mr. Mas Ardi. Can you discuss the potential risks of downsides of an overly strong sense of ownership in a project manager, and how can this be mitigated? That's quite a nice question, Mr. Hugo.
Yeah, I wonder what James has in mind with that question. But one thing that comes to mind for me is that the downside could, for example, be that I don't agree with my boss.
Yeah.
So my boss asked me to implement a certain feature in a project or in a product, for example, and I don't agree. So that might be risky because I can choose. I can just obey the order which I don't agree with, or I could start challenging my boss. And again, I think for this comes back to like thinking about the mitigation. It's again about having mature conversation. So even if a leader, for example, has a different idea from me, I could address that. Some leaders cannot take this, then I maybe have to change the leader.
Right.
But if I have a mature leader and he is about agile, he is about empowering people, then I should be able to indicate that what you're asking me to do is opposite from what I think we should be doing, because I did my research. I have data to prove that this is probably the better way. You can show some research and come with convincing arguments, and then I can have that conversation, right? So I think that I imagine that's behind this question. That would be my answer.
All right. Do you have any thought?
Perhaps Hugo already answered all.
All right. So the thing is, if we kind of like, when we do something conversation with our boss or our leader with a lot of strong data, which is that kind of like underestimate our boss or something like that in your perspective?
Again, this is about the ego of the boss.
Okay,
So
okay.
in an agile organization, in a modern organization, I think it's important that the leaders, ideally from the CEO down,
Okay.
all commit to an agile organization, which means that we're going to empower our people. Now, if I want to empower our people, then I need to be ready to let my ego go. Right? I need to realize that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and the people need to also realize that.
Okay.
Because if I'm the smartest guy in the room,
Yeah.
nobody's going to come with any
Sure.
idea, right?
Sure.
And if I always get mad at ideas that oppose mine, then nobody will come with any
Sure.
suggestion. So
Sure.
I think it's important that leaders realize this. So if, as an organization, we say we go agile, we are going to empower and
Right.
create self-organization, then I think people in self-organized teams should have the right to bring this to the
Right.
attention of any leader, which means also that if the leader his ego comes in the way, that I should be able to address that in a
Right.
professional way without insulting him, right? So it's and this interaction, I believe, it's very sensitive, especially
But
in
yes,
a culture
yes.
like Indonesia, because I'm from Belanda. It's different, right?
Yeah.
There's more equality, there's less
Right.
hierarchy. So
Right.
I can say anything that I
Right.
want, even if I do something insulting, then
Right.
usually people will take it.
You can
right?
say your thought to your boss
Well,
without any.
there's a flip side to that,
Right.
but I actually prefer the Indonesian way. But I think this hierarchy is something which is very strong,
Right.
and people are scared to do what I've just
Yeah,
described.
totally
But
agree with that.
if we want to become more self-organized, then we will need to get through that from both the leader and
Right.
the subordinate side.
All right. Move to the next question from Aan Karuniawan. Hi, Mr. Hugo. Why do you think implementing agile culture in Indonesian society is more difficult than in other country? Well, the question,
Yeah, I
the
think
answer just you said it.
maybe that's in between. I already answered that. So yeah, I mean, I've done this for 6-7 years. I've seen many environments. I think national culture is one aspect of this. So you have certain values that were given to you by your parents, by your teachers, by society. But I think it also matters a lot in what company you're working, or even in what team you are working,
Yep.
right? So there's different layers of complexity that help or work against agility. But yeah, this central thought or central ingredient of agile, in which we empower people, in which we expect people to become self-organized.
Yeah.
That is very challenging in a hierarchical country or
Right.
organization. And again, what I just said, in Belanda, it's more equal. People are used to, so from a young age, we're stimulated to voice our opinions, to look different, right?
Right.
Whereas here, if I look down my hotel room, I see schools where at 7 o'clock somebody's shouting for people
Right.
to stand in line, right?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but that kind of education is not conducive to empowerment,
Okay.
to breaking rules, to
All right.
right. So, but again, depending on the environment you're in, depending on your own mindset, I do think you
Or
can
culture
change
itself.
that. Yeah, you can change that. Right?
Yeah.
And it's also, if I recognize this and I work in a company, then I can be the starter of that change, right? I could comply, like, oh, I need to listen to my boss, or I could be a bit of a rebel and try to challenge that, like, if I feel that's right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, because we run out of the time, Hugo dan juga Mas Adi, kita masuk ke sesi akhir dari TikTok kali ini. So, aku mau coba minta closing statement dari Hugo dan juga Mas Adi. Start closing statement from Hugo.
So I think my closing statement, which I already spoke about before, would be screw it, let's do it. So anything that we discussed today, if you think there is value in the concepts, in the mindset, in whatever you took from it, do it right away today.
Right. Screw it, let's do it. It's quite interesting. Dari Mas Ari?
Kalau dari saya, start today,
Start today.
and we could change, embrace, katakan tadi Mas Aan bilang new culture atau agile culture ya.
Okay.
Start today, karena
Start today. Because today is a gift.
today is
Tomorrow is history.
Tomorrow is
But yesterday is history.
history,
Right?
tomorrow is mystery.
Alright, luar biasa sekali. Terima kasih untuk Hugo dan juga Mas Ardi sudah meluangkan waktu untuk main ke studio BNI University. Semoga discuss kita bisa jadi awareness bagi high movers yang hadir pada live stream hari ini.